Today we're doing story time. Let's go.
I'm Kenny Molotov, licensed plumber, professional magician, and entertainer. On this channel, I go through the ins and outs of my career in plumbing. I take you through a day in the life and we talk tools, theory, and mindset. I'm trying to give you an arsenal of knowledge and an online resource so you can take this trade head on and find yourself successful on the other end. Click subscribe, hit that bell notification, and let's talk pipes.
So peeps, I wanted to talk today about a story that happened to me in the past. I don't know if this is going to be a regular series that we do here on the channel, but I think it is sometimes fun to listen to stories that have happened, especially if they're kind of like gong shows that occurred, if you know what I'm saying. I have a story that happened to me a couple of years ago, which was a little bit of just a terrible situation, of a situation getting heated between me and a customer actually. So I wanted to talk about it, let you know what happened, how I handled it, which wasn't too great, but I think it'll be a little bit of fun of just talking about it. So here it goes. Through a contractor of ours that we work with regularly, we were sent to this guy's house. And this guy, the first time we met him, it was Dad and I think what we were doing was we were installing a PO plug, all right? We were installing a brand new PO plug into one of the vanities in this place. And we met him and he was really charming, man. I gotta be honest, he was a sweet dude. Him and I ended up talking for a couple of minutes and Dad was working as well and we were all laughing and it was like really good vibes, you know what I'm saying? We were doing great, it was wonderful. So that entire thing happened once and then we got a call, you know, a few months later saying, look, he got the PO plug to the other vanity and the other vanity was the exact same. So he was wondering if we could come over and do the other vanity as well. We're like, absolutely, sure, no problem. We do enjoy spending time with this guy, let's do it. So we went there, we installed the PO plug and everything like that. It was great. Again, he was really sweet, you know, just very dynamic. That's what I remember the personality like. He had all this like really high-end energy, you know, and he was constantly telling us stories and this and that, and it was great. So lo and behold, about 2 weeks later, he calls us and he goes, you know that vanity PO plug you installed? Well, the drain's running really slow on that. Can you come take a look at it? So Dad sends me to this job. So I went to the job and I looked at it and the first thing that I noticed was that we installed one of our own PO plugs and he had ordered a PO plug from the manufacturer to go into this thing. So he wanted me to swap out the PO plug. So I did that. I swapped out the PO plug, I tested the drain and the drain was still not draining well. Here's the thing that you have to know though, I kind of jumped the gun there. As soon as I came to the apartment, I knocked. I was excited to see him. He's a really nice guy. I knock on the door and all of a sudden he opens up the door and he's on like a conference call. So he's got a phone in his hand. It's on speaker. I send my hand out to shake his and he goes like this. I can't do it correctly, but he basically goes like that. So right off the bat, I was like, is this guy frustrated? What's going on? And that's the general vibe I got off the guy. He was kind of frustrated in that moment. And here's what you got to realize. You remember how I was telling you about his high-end energy? Imagine that, but frustrated. You got a different kind of concoction going on, if you know what I'm saying. So I didn't pay too much mind to it, but I realized something was a little bit off. Then I went to the other vanity. I saw the new PO plug that he had, and I started swapping them out. I swapped them out. I tested the drain and I noticed that the drain was running slow, so I started snaking the drain, okay? So here's what happened. I snaked the drain, I put it all together, he's done his conference call, he comes in, I drain it for him, he sees how good it drains, and then he turns to me, he goes, oh, so the problem was what your dad installed the previous time, right? So he thought it was the PO plug we installed the previous time. And I said, no, it's not the PO plug that Dad installed the previous time because these two are the same exact diameter. They're letting in the same amount of water at the same time, so it has nothing to do with that. And he kind of was like, oh, okay, whatever sort of thing. And he goes, so how much do I owe you? And this is where it starts, peeps. I go, let me call Dad, I'll find out. I call Dad, I go, Dad, the customer's asking how much he owes us. And you already get the vibe that he's not in a good place, this customer, right? Dad tells me it's a minimum charge, and I turn to him and I say, look, it's a minimum charge. I'm not gonna charge you for swapping out the PO plug. It'll be like it never happened. We'll just do a minimum charge, which is snaking a drain. That's it. And peeps, he loses it. He goes, you know, you guys are charging way too much. This isn't right. This should be completely free. This and that. You know, and I should call up the Ministry of Trade and I should tell them about you guys. And if I do, you guys are going to be in trouble. And he is ripping me a new one. You should have seen him going with his high-end energy. La, 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 la. He's going. He's flipping out on me, right? And I'm sitting back going, dude, I initially, when he first started saying it, I thought he was joking. I don't know why, but I thought he was doing this thing where he was pretending that he thinks we're charging too much. You know when sometimes somebody comes across as sarcastic, but they're not? I thought he was joking. I thought he was like, oh, you know, being friendly, almost like, I thought he was trying to say, you guys aren't charging enough. Like, this is really cheap. Anyways, I was totally wrong in my understanding what was going on. He was angry. So I turned to him and I go, look, this is a minimum charge I'm charging here. I'm not charging you for installing the PO plug. That is completely free. And he's like, I don't care. And I was like, let me explain it to you. He goes, no, I don't want you to explain anything to me. And he goes, well, it's your fault that the drain is clogged, blah, blah, blah. I go, how is it our fault that the drain is clogged? We didn't clog it. That's not what we do as plumbers. It's not like I have a special tool that'll clog the drain for you. He's going and he keeps saying, it's not about the money. You guys are ripping me off, blah, blah, blah. And he's cussing. I don't know if I mentioned that. He's saying the F word. He goes, I'm effing pissed. And like, guys, he's unloading the clip on me. You know what I'm saying? Automatic weapon, like just hitting me hard. And you know what I did? And I don't know if this was the right thing or the wrong thing, but this is what I did. He was recommended to us through a contractor of ours, and this contractor, we work together all the time. And that's the one benefit of actually being recommended through a contractor, that there's a word of mouth thing going on, but there's also like a guarantee going on. If you screw up as a plumber, that guy is gonna call the contractor, and the contractor is gonna call you to yell at you, and vice versa, which is what's happening here. If that guy screws up, I'm gonna call the contractor and go, what the hell are you sending me to? You're sending me to people that are gonna blast me like this for a price that's reasonable? What's going on here? So this is what happened. He goes, I'll get you the money, but I'm effing pissed. And I go, you know what? I don't want your money. And I was packed up at this point. I go, you know what? I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you. And I'm walking out at this point. And I go, and I'm gonna call, and I said the contractor's name. I said, I'm gonna call him, and I'm gonna tell him exactly the way you acted today, and never call us again. And I closed the door and I walked out of there. Whoo! I was pissed, peeps. It was like this surreal situation, man. It was bizarre. I don't know what the hell happened. And then I called my dad as I'm driving. I go, look, I got $0 in my pocket for the work that I just did. I just put in about a half an hour to an hour of work. I said, I have $0. This is what happened. Call the contractor, I said to my dad, and give him shit. That's what I said. I said, call him and blast him. Blast him and tell him exactly what happened. Call him right away. So here's the interesting thing that ended up unfolding because of this. I ended up going to the next job site. I was not good that day. That day I was upset the rest of the day. But what ends up happening is my father calls the contractor, and the contractor is like at a Turkish bath or something like that. I don't know what the hell was happening, but his phone blew up. So here's something I only realized in hindsight. When I had turned to the customer, I said, and you know what? I'm gonna call this contractor and I'm gonna tell him exactly how you acted. I didn't realize because I was already so upset, but he got really quiet in that section of time when I brought up the contractor. It's like he forgot that he went through the contractor to get us. So he got really quiet, and I think I managed to spark his fear in that situation, where in his head he went, oh man, I'm really making this contractor look bad by blasting his plumber. So his phone blew up while he was at the bath, the Turkish bath. I don't know. And he ends up calling my dad and going, what happened? And my dad's like, this guy right here just blasted my son for doing fair work and for a fair price. What's going on here? So the contractor, you know, here's the story out, and he goes, yeah, I thought something like that happened because this customer never calls him, he goes, and his phone blew up with like 1 million text messages going, look, I need to give you the money so you can hand it off to the plumbers, blah, blah, blah. Oh man, so later on that day, that contractor, and bless his soul, he ended up meeting with that very same customer to get the money from him. I was good with walking away without any money, but he ended up getting that money from him. And the customer started explaining himself, going, you know, those guys are charging blah blah blah, and it's not about the money, it's about the principle, blah blah blah. And then at some point, for some reason, the customer goes, you know, and I was having a bad day. That's what the customer said to our contractor. He goes, I was having a bad day. I just got off a terrible conference call, he goes, where everybody was switching up everything. Nobody was listening to anybody. So there was already tension in the situation to begin with. And that made a lot of sense to me. Right off the bat, when I walked into the place, I realized that he was not level. He was angry. You know what I mean? Just to hear our price, I think I was the only person in the vicinity, and he just started unloading on me. You know what I mean? So I think it was just a terrible storm. But what he ends up admitting to our contractor, and you know, I even remember Ken's dad saying that it was gonna be the price that they charged me. In a really weird way, he admitted that he was wrong and that it was a situation of circumstance, but at the same time, he was also holding the position that it was too much money. So it was just a really bizarre situation. As I look back upon it now, it's hilarious. But you know, these things happen from time to time. People aren't happy with prices, and that's one thing that you have to know. A lot of people get tense around talking about money. What I've learned during my career and with my father is that we eventually came up with a rule, which is you are going to tell the price up front before you start the work if it's a bigger project, first of all, or you're at least gonna talk to them about the charge of the hour and what the truck charge costs, so they know a ballpark of how much it's gonna be, sort of thing. That's always something to keep in mind and something to do, rather than not talking price and then giving them a price at the end, which is like sort of like a formula for disaster. But here's a situation that happened even though we talked about price at the beginning. So there are some situations that you just can't win. So peeps, I hope you liked this story. I hope it was entertaining for you and funny, because when I look back upon it, it's kind of hilarious, even though at the time it wasn't funny at all. There was no laughter that day or the next day after that. But you know, you live and you learn. Pretty hilarious. Let me know if you've had any situations as well happen to you like this down in the comments below. It'd be great to hear some more stories. Like, subscribe, comment below, and I'll see you plumbers very soon. Kenny Molotov, guys. Peace, baby.